Good morning, everyone. House Committee on Transportation will come to order. The clerk will open the roll for attendance. Clerk will close the roll. We have a quorum. Okay, first item is we have a patron request for HB 447, patroned by Delegate Williams. He has requested that that bill be carried over to 2025.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. That is a recorded vote, so the clerk will open the roll. Oh, it is a voice vote. All right, sorry. Okay. All right, clerk will destroy the roll.
Yes.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded. Thank you for everyone's help there. It's moved and seconded to carry over HB 447 to 2025. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The bill is carried over. Okay, first subcommittee report from Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bill is House Bill 425, patroned by Delegate Green. I move the substitute.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Substitutes before us. Chair Sewell.
And my apologies, it's an amendment. So I move the amendment. My apologies.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, the amendment is before us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill authorizes the release of pertinent information to an impacted party during an administrative proceeding. We thank the patron and the Department of Motor Vehicles for their willingness to address concerns regarding the release of personal identifiable information. And after multiple iterations of bill language, the subcommittee recommends reporting 8-0, and I so move with amendments.
It's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we have House Bill 812, patroned by Delegate Munden King. I move the amendment in the nature of a substitute presented during the subcommittee meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended substitute is before us.
House Bill 812 makes it so that all license plates issued pursuant to Chapter 235 of the Acts of the Assembly of 2007, being the Sons of Confederate Veterans and Robert E. Lee, shall remain valid until their expiration and shall not be renewed. The subcommittee recommends reporting with amendment on a vote of 5-3, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. The clerk. Yes. Sorry. My iPad's over here, so I didn't see the request. Sorry. Delegate Griffin.
Madam Chair, may I speak to the bill?
Yes, you may, Delegate.
I have the great privilege of practicing a lot of constitutional law. This seems like a viewpoint discrimination case. Government doesn't have to engage in creating free speech forums and creating speech forums. But when government does choose to engage in speech forums, and I think there's 34 pages of license plates you can choose from in Virginia on the DMV website, then it can't weigh in and take one side over the other. And so I think this bill bothers me from that perspective. I mean, the reason that we have First Amendment protections of speech in general is so that we protect speech that not everybody likes, right? That's the whole point. If we all liked it, it wouldn't need protection. And so I see this, there's plates on, there's an abortion plate on there that I find disgusting personally, but I'm not going to move to remove it just because I don't agree with it. So I'm going to vote no on this. I've got a problem with it because I think it is a violation of the First Amendment when government uses the power of government to weigh in and try to ban speech that somebody doesn't like.
All right, thank you, Delegate. I know the patron of the bill is here, and so would like to give her the opportunity to respond to any comment on her legislation.
Thank you. Okay, I guess it's on. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would respond to the delegate. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but there have been several Supreme Court cases that have established that states have the right to decide on these specialty plates, and I'm happy to have counsel either confirm or deny that. But we also make decisions about these plates all the time. And what I'm simply asking is that we make a decision to leave the Confederacy in history books and not on license plates, and to not continue to venerate someone who is not worthy of being honored. So that's simply my request. I believe that the Supreme Court has established that states do have the right to make these decisions, but happy to let council determine that.
Thank you, Delegate. And if council could weigh in on the constitutionality of the bill.
Yes, Madam Chair. In 2015, in Walker v. Sons and Confederate Veterans, the Supreme Court did hold that special license plates are a form of government speech and therefore are not subject to the same First Amendment protections.
Thank you. And Delegate Cohen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm actually excited about this because we keep talking about moving on, but we sure want to hold on to some symbols of hate. So I guess I just wanted to ask maybe if I could, our legal team, do we have a swastika option on our license plates?
Madam Chair, no, we do not.
I wondered if we had any KKK license plates that were available to the public.
Madam Chair, no, we do not.
I wondered if you had the opportunity to have things like Heil Hitler on your license plate.
Madam Chair, we do not have a Heil Hitler specialty license plate.
Follow-up question, Delegate.
Yes, I appreciate it. Just speaking to the bill, if I might, Madam Chair.
Yes, Delegate Cohen.
We had the opportunity on the school board, and it was, to be honest, a pretty emotional and impactful opportunity for me. When we talk about what kinds of things kids can bring into our school system, what T-shirts they can wear, what can be on their backpack. And I recognize that we're always in a place where we're trying very hard to make sure that we protect the First Amendment to its absolute maximum. And we have a responsibility as leaders in this Commonwealth, as public servants, to make sure that we're never promoting hate speech in any way. And I think this is just one of those things that looks small, but the impact is so big and so meaningful to me. So I'm really excited to be able to vote yes on this, and I sure appreciate the patron giving us this opportunity.
The chair of the subcommittee has moved the bill report. Was there a second? All right, with substitute. The clerk will open the roll. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill reports with substitute 12-9. All right, Chair Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1112, patroned by Delegate Wyatt. I move the amendment adopted in subcommittee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. And any opposed? Bill is before us.
House Bill 1112 provides clarification on which databases are to be searched by the Department of Motor Vehicles upon notification by auto recyclers at, I cannot read my own handwriting, by auto recyclers that he possesses a motor vehicle to be demolished but does not possess a certificate of title, salvage certificate, or non-repairable certificate for such motor vehicle. The subcommittee recommends reporting with amendments and a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, the clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Bill passes 21-0. Chair Sewell.
Lastly, we have House Bill 1538, patroned by Delegate Kilgore. I move the subcommittee substitute.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Chair.
The bill addresses the conversion of a manufactured home to real property. The subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, the clerk will open the roll. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. It's working. All right, everyone Voted. The clerk will close the roll. The bill reports. Chair Sewell, does that complete the work of your subcommittee?
It does. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair Sewell, for your work. Next, we have the Subcommittee 2 report by Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bill, HB 142, patroned by Delegate Reed, having to do with waiving certain requirements concerning the installation of crosswalks. The subcommittee recommended continuing to 2025, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that's a voice vote, to continue HB 142 to 2025. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill is continued. Chair Carr.
Thank you. HB 143, patroned by Delegate Reed. The subcommittee recommended reporting with substitute, so I'd like to move the substitute.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute is before us. Chair Carr.
This requires the Department of Transportation to establish and maintain a publicly accessible database and map of all utility work that has been approved by the department and will recur within a highway right-of-way. The substitute limits the database to utility work occurring in a residential neighborhoods and provides that the database will not be information about critical infrastructure. So the subcommittee recommended reporting the substitute, and I so move.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. All right, is everyone, okay. Clerk will close the roll. The bill reports. Chair Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 144, also patroned by Delegate Reed. It has to do with notification of change in speed limits. And the substitute removes the signage requirement and shifts the requirement to notify HOAs from VDOT to the locality. So I would, the subcommittee recommended reporting with the substitute, and I so move.
First, let's adopt the substitute. Is there a motion to adopt the substitute? Second. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute bill is before us, and Chair Carr has moved that we report with substitute. Is there a second?
So moved.
Clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports. Chair Carr.
Madam Chair, the next three were all reported 8-0, and what I'd like to do is present them in a block, if that's all right.
We're able to do that as a block. All right, we can accept those as a block. So Chair Carr, you have the floor.
Thank you. HB 1110. It has to do about toll facilities and the vehicle owner. It provides that in the context of automated toll enforcement, the exemption from the definition of owner for vehicle rental or vehicle leasing companies applies only if such companies meet existing requirements related to handling all toll invoices on rented or leased vehicles. So the subcommittee recommended reporting that, and I so move. Then HB 1254, patroned by Delegate Runyon. It has to do with bridges and state of good repair and the allocation of funds. It designates that bridges with a general condition rating defined in the bill of no more than 5 or at least one major bridge component is eligible for state of good repair funds. Currently, bridges must be structurally deficient to be eligible. The bill authorizes the use of state of good repair funds for improvements anticipated to extend the useful life of a bridge by at least 10 years. The bill applies to new project allocations made by the Commonwealth Transportation Board after June 1, 2025. So the subcommittee recommended reporting, and I so move.
Chair Carr, before you move on, I do have a question on that bill from Delegate Austin.
Madam Chair, not a question, just a statement. This is a complicated matter, and just for clarification, I would like to say that if a bridge, as an example, had a 20-ton rate capacity and it had been declared structurally deficient, it would only be brought back to its original rated capacity. It would not improve it beyond that capacity. And I think there's maybe a perception out there that that would not be the case. It would in modern day time, a lot of these bridges in rural areas really need to be improved to current standards, which would allow heavier capacities. But that's not what this bill does. So I just wanted to state that for the record. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Chair Carr.
Any other comments on that? HB 1331 by Delegate Walker. This has to do by the conveyance of easement. Department of State Police and Department of Transportation authorizes the conveyance of an easement in Campbell County by the Department of State Police in conjunction with the Department of Transportation. So the subcommittee recommended reporting this 8-0, and I so move.
Second. All right, so moved and seconded that the bills reported by Chair Carr be reported in block. Clerk will open the roll. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill reports. Chair Carr, does that complete your subcommittee's work?
Yes, it does.
All right, thank you, Chair. Thank you for your work. All right, so finally, before us, we do have a presentation today that I'm excited to present or to turn over for presentation. We have with us today the Virginia Spaceport Authority. I'd like to welcome Major General Ted Mercer, who is the CEO and Executive Director of the Virginia Spaceport Authority, to the podium. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it's an honor to have you here, and I and many of the members, I know we're very excited to learn a little bit more about Virginia Spaceport Authority and opportunities for the future and how we might see the movement towards growing this sector and for Virginia.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. It is indeed an honor for me to be with you today. Let me begin by first thanking you all for the outstanding and the committed support in terms of resources that allow us to operate and maintain your spaceport for the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's important to note that there are only four spaceports in the entire nation that guarantee assured access to space for America. There are four. There are two on the West Coast and two on the East Coast, of which one belongs to the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we are principal players in the Commonwealth and in ensuring assured access to space. And I will tell you that when you find and look at what Russia and China are doing in space today, not what they're planning to do, but what they are actually doing in space today, we are engaged in satellite conflict today. And why is that important? Because it impacts just about every American citizen. Space impacts you every day. You use it every day. If you've gone to an ATM machine to get cash, you cannot do it without a satellite constellation that flies today. You go and get gas in your car and try to use a credit card. You cannot do it without the satellite constellation that is flying today. When you put in an address to go find it on your GPS, in your car, to go to a location, you cannot do it without a space constellation that is flying today. It touches our lives every day. You just don't see it. You don't see it. One of the things I've challenged the war gamers with is, let's take away GPS for one day and see how it impacts this nation and the people in it. I guarantee you'll have a lot of upset folks because we need space and we use it every day. But the only way to protect that is to guarantee you have assured access to space, because you cannot get those satellites to orbit, no matter how exquisite they are, unless you have a spaceport from which to launch them. And America has only got 4. And guess what? Only 2 can help each other. The West Coast support different orbital regimes than the 2 on the East Coast. They can't help us, we can't help them. So you got 2 that can provide access to space. And let's take it a little bit further. Cape Canaveral down in Florida, hurricane season is every year, May to November, every year. I was the commander of the Eastern Range at the Cape when Hurricane Erin came through and we had to evacuate the entire installation. And for 2.5 weeks after we got back on the base. America did not have access to space in the equatorial orbits. You did not have it. Most Americans didn't even know that. So I applaud and I thank you for the support that you have provided that allows the Commonwealth of Virginia to have its own spaceport and a national asset. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Next slide, please. I think a video and a picture is worth 1,000 words. We had one of the busiest years last year in the history of the spaceport, and we thought we'd take 2 minutes and show you what we did last year.
Lost our sound?
Okay, looks like we lost part of it.
And Mars Monthly. Let's go to space and of Virginia Spaceport Authority, Ted Mercer.
Mars Monthly, talking with the crew from the Virginia Spaceport Authority.
That's just in 2023. And we're going to see that our operations tempo accelerate starting in 2025. We're calling this our transition year because we got to get ready for what's coming. We're about to bring on 2 new customers, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, one of which is an international customer. We can't give you their name yet because it's not public released, but we're growing our operations up there and doing what you, the legislature, stood us up to do. Who is Virginia Space? Virginia Space is a political subdivision of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are an authority, much like the Port Authority, and it allows us to operate more like a business and with a bit more agility. For example, one of our launch pads, you'll see a little bit later, we were able to build from groundbreaking to full operational status and launch capability in 11 months. It's because I don't have a lot of bureaucracy that I have to deal with. We comply with the state and federal laws, and we go about building it with the resources that you so generously provide. We own and operate. This Virginia Spaceport Authority owns and operates the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, or MARS. The Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport is located on the eastern shore up near Chickotee Island. And so we operate it. MARS is the location from which we operate, and that's where most of our personnel are located. Our headquarters is in the World Trade Center in Norfolk, Virginia. We'll invite you whenever you're down in that region to come by, and we'd love to show you what we do down at the headquarters section. I've got big screens that I have actually live feeds every day on what's going on up at Mars because we want to watch operations up there when we can't be up there. Again, we are only 4 spaceports in the United States licensed for vertical lift to orbit. And we receive 1% of the Commonwealth Transportation Funds. That's critical for us to be able to operate and execute because it allows us, that 1% allows us to operate, maintain, refurbish, and modernize that spaceport. You can see where we are on this slide. We're right on the coast. We're right on the water. And that's where we want to be, where we can get right out over the ocean when we launch one of these rockets, remembering that a rocket is nothing more than a controlled explosion. And that energy is going to take the path of least resistance. We want that to be through the engines. But every now and then you'll have a bad day. You want to be out over the water when you do that, not over somebody's house. But what that brings is corrosion. That salt air, it's tough to maintain and modernize our sites, but you got to do that. Remember that some of our facilities have been around since 1995. So that 1% allows us to do that. We thank you for that. It allows us to operate and maintain your spaceport. Next slide. Our purpose. This is what the statute stood us up to do. Develops the infrastructure to provide low-cost access to space. Provide education and research for technologies. When companies come to want to launch their rockets out of the spaceport, they're going to want to know, do we have the resources? Can we hire the people that we're going to need, the technical expertise that we're going to need? We provide that pipeline. For example, we're one of the few companies that can take engineers directly out of college, bring them to our company, and put them immediately to work doing engineering work, launching rockets. We season them for 3 to 4 to 5 years, and then the Raytheons, the Boeings, the Northrop Grummons are interested now because they're seasoned engineers. So then we provide that pipeline, and that's absolutely okay with us because we are able to generate that pipeline, bringing in students fresh out of college in Virginia institutions. So that's part of what we do every day as well. We provide those launch operations on the Eastern Shore. The economic development, we'll talk a little bit about that, is extraordinary. We are doing what you set us up to do, and we'll tell you more about that later, stimulating that economic development and economic growth. But that's why you stood us up, and I can confidently tell you that we are doing that for you. And we recently had an economic development study completed by Old Dominion University, the Draeger Center. And we'll talk some more about that a little bit later. There's some really very nice nuggets that came out of that. We'll be happy to share that development study with anybody who would like to receive it. Next slide. These are our facilities as they exist today. Pad 0A is a liquid fuel pad opportunity. That's where we launched the Antares rocket to resupply our astronauts on the International Space Station. We're also bringing another customer to that pad going forward. Pad 0B is right now our solid fuel pad. We launched the Minotaur class of rockets out of that pad using solid fuel boosters. We are in the process of bringing a mobile liquid capability to that pad, so now we can launch liquid or solid rockets out of that pad. Pad 0C, this is the pad for the Rocket Lab Electron rocket launches out of Pad 0C. This is the pad we were able to build in 11 months from groundbreaking to full operational status, and we've been launching rockets out of there since January of last year. Pad 0D, that's the newest pad. It's under construction. We'd love to get you up there to see how fast the landscape changes when we're putting in a pad. It's well on its way beyond what you see in that picture already. This is the pad that Rocket Lab will use to launch the new Neutron rocket. It is a mid-class rocket, but let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big rocket. It's going to be some 30 feet in diameter, 131 feet tall, capable of carrying a 5-meter fairing. It will be able to put entire constellations in orbit on a single rocket. MarsCom, that's our headquarters building. That's how from there, we have a control center that actually allows us to operate our pads during every launch. We have a UAS airfield there. I saw earlier today talking about advanced air mobility. We have an active UAS airfield. Our runway is some 3,000 foot long, 75 feet wide, with a vertical takeoff and landing pad on one of it and a fully operational hangar for our customers to use. We've had an exponential increase in operations out of our UAS airfield. To date, in the last 12 months, we have had over 56 operations in customers operating on that pad. And as we speak today, we've got a Department of Defense customer flying out of our launch pad today. So we are active, and that is going to increase as we move forward. We have the newest payload processing facility. That's the PPF. You cannot prepare a satellite for launch without a payload processing facility. You have to have the ability to process that satellite to get it ready to go, integrate that satellite to its rocket, fuel that satellite with hypergolic fuels, and then take it to the launch pad and launch it. We have the newest in the country to be able to do that. We'd love to get you up and show you these facilities firsthand because the pictures do not do them justice. The ICF, that's the Integration and Control Facility. The Virginia Spaceport Authority owns that building. We built it. We lease it to the Rocket Lab Company, and they use it to integrate or prepare each of their Electron rockets for launch. They also prepare some of the payloads there and integrate the payloads with their Electron there, then roll it out to Pad 0C to actually launch it. Also inside that building is their Operations Control Center. Every launch that the Rocket Lab executes, they use their control center inside that ICF to launch that rocket, to include, in some cases, connecting to their other launch facility in New Zealand. We're able to do that inside the ICF. The Mars Industrial Complex, you see on the right-hand slide, that's where we're putting the Rocket Lab integration and assembly complex and facilities. We're building their buildings for them there, where they will integrate and build the new Neutron rocket. That's the big one that will be going in there. So that's kind of a snapshot of our facilities. Next slide. These are our customers as we currently stand. Northrop Grumman, we launched the last, what's called the Antares 230 Plus rocket to resupply our astronauts back on the 1st of August of last year. That was the end of an era. There are no more Antares 230 Plus rockets. Northrop Grumman has now partnered with a company called Firefly, and they're going to build an all-U.S. Rocket that will be called now the Antares 330. Be much, much bigger than the Antares 230 Plus, capable of carrying much more and different types of payloads than the 230 could carry. For example, the Antares 230 had 2 large engines on that rocket. You had the opportunity to see it launch a few minutes ago. The new Antares 330 will have 7 engines. So it gives you an idea of the difference in size. Rocket Lab, obviously, is a company that we are launching the Electron for. Within 2 years, we in all likelihood will be launching the Neutron. The other 2 that you see there are 2 other customers, one of which I've signed all the contracts and the deals with. They're going to be coming to launch from Mars. When we can publicly announce that, we'll let you know who that company is. The other is we're in negotiation with another company that want to bring manufacturing of their rocket to the Eastern Shore. This will be huge for us and for the Eastern Shore because it opens the aperture for the kind of people that we can hire. We don't just have to hire engineers now. We can hire high school graduates, train them, put them in an assembly line to actually manufacture rockets now. So that company will manufacture, they will process payloads, they will integrate those payloads, and then they will launch all from Mars. Next slide. To talk about commitment for the Commonwealth, if you go back to 2004, this shows you that the Commonwealth has invested just in capital projects, $196 million that we have effectively executed to cost and schedule on every one of those projects. So we're very proud of that. That's tough to do. But you can see the commitment from 2004 to 2023 of the Commonwealth's commitment to this to allow us to have one of the 4 spaceports in the nation. Next slide. We talked about the economic impact study. What's critical about this and what is we were extremely impressed with is that over the last 5 years, we had to overcome some pretty significant headwinds in order to help grow the economic development on the Eastern Shore. 2 of them, the most significant headwinds we had to overcome. The first was COVID. COVID, for 2.5 years, there was an economic downturn. We had to overcome that. The second was federal spending. Federal non-employee spending on the Eastern Shore was down by 60% over the last 5 years. We had to overcome those 2 headwinds if you want to grow the economic development, and guess what? We did that. The aerospace cluster did that. We went from $1.37 billion of impact a year to $1.5 billion, even against those headwinds. For every dollar that you and the Commonwealth invests in us, You get a real return of $2.90 on every dollar. The study, it's all included in the study. We have, in a year over year, we created from over 3,300 jobs to 3,500 jobs year over year up there. High-paying, quality jobs. For every engineer that we hire up there, they're worth 2 jobs in the surrounding area. You talk about return on investment. Here is the return on investment for why you stood us up. Next slide. Our journey continues. We're going to continue to drive economic development by bringing new customers, increasing the launch operations and launch cadence, and bringing those opportunities to the Eastern Shore of Virginia. We're building Launchpad 0D. We just told you about that. By the end of the year, we'll almost be there. We're modifying Launchpad 0A to accommodate the new, larger Antares rocket. The Commonwealth provided $20 million for us to do those, and those modifications are well underway, so that when that new rocket is ready, the pad will be ready to be able to resupply our astronauts. Our STEM program is aggressive. 20% of our interns are hired by 20% of my employees are former interns that we've hired. Our 2 most senior engineers were the first 2 interns 12 years ago. They are now the 2 most senior engineers on our pads. We're growing and exercising that. Our director of our chief of education and intern development has now established internships on the Eastern Shore and other K through 12 high schools in the region. One of the young students is going to come and shadow me one day as the CEO of the company. STEM is alive and well because we got to build that pipeline, and you got to get to them early. And then enhance, grow customers. Bring new folks to the launch pad, new companies to the launch pads. The United States Space Force now calls Mars publicly the backup to the Cape Canaveral. That's huge for us. Next slide. Well, that's my rundown on your spaceport. I'd love to answer any questions, and I would love to host you to come up and actually see these facilities, to see what the Commonwealth resources are producing and building.
Thank you so much, Major General, for your presentation. I think that it's so important that we hear more about what you're doing there. You are doing such incredible work for Virginia, and we are so well positioned to be, as we are, absolute leaders in this space. But I don't think we talk nearly enough about it. And I'm so glad to have the opportunity for this committee and anyone watching to learn a little bit more about just how we are really leading the way in this industry across the nation. I would love to get to a point where we are, having these discussions and collaborating in such a way that when people think of Virginia across this country, they think that's a leader in aerospace and space innovation. And that would be a goal of mine to see us get there. And so I'm just thrilled to hear what we're doing, the incredible opportunities it is for our economy, but for our nation as well, just to see that we're continuing to move forward in such an innovative space. It touches so many aspects of our life and our economy. So thank you for your presentation today. I do see a number of members that are anxious to ask you some questions, so we'll jump into that. Delegate Fagans.
Good morning, Major General. Thank you, of course, for that incredible presentation. One of the things that you had talked about was in terms of the DoD presence. As we've seen, as we know that a lot of the DoD launches do happen at the Cape and at Vandenberg, and we're seeing, of course, in terms of seeing where the future is going to be in terms of between Alabama and Colorado for headquarters. But could you talk a little bit more about potential growth opportunities we do have with the DoD? Is there limitations in terms of security of Wallops, or are there still areas that we can grow for having more DoD launches? Absolutely.
We're growing. We have a wonderful relationship with the Department of Defense. In fact, we have certain facilities that we don't talk about necessarily publicly there that allow us to deal at some of the highest classified levels. In fact, I have a top secret SCI polygraph clearance myself, and as a few of others do. So we are tightly engaged with the Department of Defense on government missions. Our next launch is a government mission. And in fact, you saw on the slide about how many launches we've done. almost all of those have been related to the government in some way or shape or form. Even the commercial ones, they were manifested as commercial launches, but they were on behalf of government customers. So we are well entrenched. As I said, the United States Space Force sees us as a backup to Cape Canaveral. And if you listen to their leadership at various forums, speeches that they give, they talk about us, Mars, and try to direct those customers that want to launch small and mid-sized rockets. They tell them to, hey, go talk to Mars first before you come to the Cape. So we're engaged heavily with them. Thank you. And growing. We also have we're always looking for other funding sources to support what the Commonwealth provides. We are players in a program called the Space Force Enhancement Program. We get about $10 million a year from that program. The current Senate mark for that program right now is for a total of $25 million over what was previously $20 million. And we split that between us and Alaska, the spaceport in Alaska. So out of 20, we get about 10, and they get about 10. So if the Senate mark holds at 25 million, we'll get a bit more of that. So we have great support from DOD.
Thank you. Delegate Glass.
Gratitude, Madam Chair. How you doing, Major General?
Good to see you, ma'am.
Good to see you again. So I just wanted to be a good advocate in this space. And first, say extreme gratitude for your presentation. It's almost as dynamic as going to see a launch, which I just wanted to say out loud. We all have the opportunity when those things come about to make our way up there as well. And also put an exclamation point on the things you all are doing with the Eastern Shore Community College and those sorts of things. Like, I think we talk a lot about diversifying the space and creating, and that's also economically, not just what we see in our skin. So thank you all for being intentional. And I think we all can be better advocates by showing up and also, giving you money. I guess that's the piece to do the amazing things. So thank you, Major General. Thank you very much,
Delegate Lasser. We would invite you all to come up. It's one thing to see it in pictures and on slides. It's another to get up about 1.5 miles is about where close that we get you. And when we light that thing up, it's an experience.
I do hope everyone on this committee gets an opportunity to do that. Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Major General. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. 2 questions. Would your presentation be available online?
We can certainly make it so, if you'd like.
That would be great. I would like to have it.
But just tell us where to send it.
All right, great. And the other thing, mentioned the launches. Is there one coming up that the public is available to?
Absolutely. Mid-March will be the next one.
All right. And is there one after that one?
The one after that one, it's moving a bit. So we're not sure when they're going to. They had some issues with their payload, the customer did. So they're trying to work through the technical issues with their payload. So it moves, but I would say summer, early summer.
Thank you. Mid-March.
All right, thank you. You can go to our website. Those that the customer allows us to publicly announce, you'll find them on our website.
Thank you.
You won't find them all there. The customers sometimes get sensitive about what they want to announce, but you can always reach out to us, and we can tell you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Anthony.
Thank you, Major General. So I'm really excited about this presentation. I had the honor of producing engineers who had opportunities at the Virginia Space. Can you talk a little bit more about your memorandums of understanding with other higher ed institutions and also the research payloads that students have put on for rocket launches out of spaceport?
Yes. So you saw in the video, in fact, the ceremony for the memorandum of understanding that we signed with the Eastern Shore Community College. That was a first. And what we have what it basically does is allows us to interface directly with the Eastern Shore Community College to build specific curricula that would prepare the students then to be ready to come to us. So we work hand in hand with them in the development of the curriculum to send those young community college graduates to us. Because one of the things that many don't realize is that while we're basically an engineering company, we need a multitude of disciplines, like any other company. If I have electrical shortage and my lights are going out, I don't need an engineer for that. I need an electrician for that. If my HVAC is not working properly and I'm not able to control the environment inside a payload or a capsule, I need an HVAC technician for that. Though the Eastern Shore Community College provides those type of skill sets. If I got a finance problem, I need a CFO and I need finance people. I need HR people to handle personnel issues. I need a general counsel to keep me out of jail. Well, she was here, but she does a fine job of that. Oh, there she is. She's been successful the last year. I urge her to continue to do that. But it takes a multitude of disciplines, right, to run the business. But that's where we are with the MOU. Was the second half of your question? I'm sorry.
It's about the research payloads that students from across the country.
We partner with universities, particularly Old Dominion University, and their students will prepare microsat small payloads. We work with the lift providers like Northrop Grumman on the Antares, as long as they have the mass capacity on their particular space vehicle for that particular launch. If they got the space on a non-interference basis, then we orchestrate working with the lift providers to find space for those young students' experiments to actually fly, and so we do that for them on a regular basis. Sometimes the lift provider doesn't have the space, and so they can't do it, but we work with them to find that space to give them that ride. And it's a very successful program so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Delegate Reed.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Major General, for being here and providing the briefing. I just want to reiterate one of the things that you've mentioned and you've offered on several occasions, because as members of the Transportation Committee, it really is very beneficial to be able to go and visit places like this, and you don't have to wait for there to just be a launch. A launch is a really very exciting thing. I've not had the opportunity to go and see a launch, but I will tell you that you can reach out to them at any time and schedule an opportunity to come and visit the facilities. Chair Delaney and I and our staffs went out for a day trip from Northern Virginia, and it's a long ride out, but we had a chance to visit and then see the things and then drive back. And I would just encourage you, because many of you live a lot closer than we do, and you have an opportunity to be able to see these facilities firsthand and see what the Commonwealth is making, where we're making our investments, and then be able to have a chance to talk in a much more detailed way with the professionals that are out there and see just how valuable this is to the Commonwealth. So I would encourage you that this last slide that they have up here are the people that you need to reach out to. So I would encourage you to reach out and do that.
Please do. Please do. It's if nothing else, and I think Delegate Reed would agree with this, if nothing else, you get an opportunity to see the magnitude of the size that we're talking about when you talk about a rocket. And you talk about, people say, well, small class, mid class, that can't be too big, until you get out and see the size and the magnitude of it. A mid-sized rocket these days is a lot of rocket. And back in the old days, back when I had hair, back in those days, what we lift with a mid-sized rocket today would have required a heavy rocket back in the day. You know, you would have, back in the early days, you would never have gotten a 5-meter fairing on a mid-sized rocket. But that's what we routinely launch today. So getting the magnitude of the size, and then to Delegate Reed's point, being able to see where the dollars are going, that's where you get an opportunity to actually see it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee? All right. Well, Major General Mercer, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to be with us today to give this presentation. I think it was very enlightening for those of and for any members who haven't had a chance to see the facility, to see what you're doing, for those of us who've had the chance to visit, to really just again see the scope, because you're probably not going to catch it all on your first visit, that there really just is so much that you're actively doing. But I think just to emphasize just the kind of secondary and tertiary effects of this industry leading here in Virginia, that you're affecting so many other aspects of our workforce and also creating that talent pipeline that is so essential. So again, thank you so much for your presentation today. I do encourage members to take a visit, and if there's anything that we can ever do to be helpful or information that you would like to share with us, please know that we are more than happy to receive that, and thank you.
Thank you so much, and it was indeed a privilege to be here. I thank you for inviting me, and again, thank you for your support.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes the presentation portion of our meeting and the business of the committee for today. So is there a motion to adjourn? Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Committee shall rise. Thank you all.